What's in a question? Maybe just about everything important. A smart and sharp question should strike up a more engaging conversation. Now, this could not just be a discussion, but perhaps a heated discussion among families, teachers, your sons and daughters. You get the idea. For a conversation on smartphones, we're joined by Diane. Good morning.
Good morning, Lena. Happy Thursday.
It is a Thursday, isn't
Yes.
it? This week was a breeze?
Really?
It
wasn't a breeze for you, I don't think.
It was a tough news cycle in my humble opinion, but hey, we managed. So
Right.
how about
Tomorrow's
that?
Friday.
Let's give our question of the day once more to our listeners.
All right, so question. When should one get his or her smartphone? That's so difficult question.
Isn't it? Actually, a lot of our listeners are saying it's a case-by-case thing, and we agree,
Right,
but
of
there should
course.
still be a consensus, right, for
Yeah.
teachers to make more wise decisions, for
Right.
parents to be better informed when making difficult choices for their own kids.
Right.
The thing is, I believe when we're growing up, it wasn't a bigger problem because getting a flip phone, I think, is very different from getting a smartphone
Right,
where
right.
you have access to the internet.
All the things.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. So can we protect them from
Yeah.
things that are not age appropriate? That seems to be a question.
Yeah, I mean, it would be nice if there's like a set
Yeah.
number, like by age 10, you get to have your smartphone, like voting, right? When
Put it
you're
into law.
Yeah, put it into law. You can buy a smartphone when you turn 18 or something like that.
Right.
Do you remember when you first got your smartphone?
Yes, I was in my 20s, so I bought my first smartphone. So it wasn't a difficult decision at all. I got my first flip phone at age 9. Yeah. And I remember that being considered really early, but
Right.
I had working parents. They were
Yeah.
concerned that, me going to like ballet school and all these after school activities, like without a phone would
Yeah.
put me in a more vulnerable situation.
Yeah, I mean, flip phone,
Yeah.
it makes sense because it's for communication only.
And mostly it was with my parents.
Right.
So I guess it wasn't a point of contention at all.
Right. I remember so vividly for my smartphone because the smartphone started to come out when I was a freshman in my uni.
Yeah.
Which was back in 2010. And I remember getting Samsung Galaxy S1 as my very
the
first
one.
smartphone.
Okay.
Right.
So
Yeah.
it kind of wasn't a problem for you in your teens because
Right.
we weren't extended the option. Now the
We
question
didn't have any option, right?
is a little bit more complicated now. Kids nowadays live in an entirely different setting because, again, we had no other choice. But kids now, their lives are filled with smart gadgets. In
Right.
fact, without it, they wouldn't even be able to attend school during the
Exactly.
pandemic, right?
And because of the pandemic, as you said, and the transition to online classes for children, they had to use those gadgets for fun and also for their education. So it gave them a legit way, or like a legit reason to use smart mobiles.
That's right. And if you think about it, even if you don't give them smartphones, they have access to their TV, which they
Right.
can link to streaming
Smart
sites
TV,
and
right.
all of that. If not that, you have tablets. It's virtually the same thing, just with a bigger screen.
Right.
Okay, you see the dilemma here.
Yeah.
Now, to show how dependent kids are on their smartphones and devices, there was a recent study conducted by the Korean government.
Right. So just last week, the Ministry of Gender Equality and Family released the results of their study called 2022 Adolescents, Internet and Smartphone Using Habit Diagnosis.
It's a mouthful.
Right. So the study surveyed students who are at their turning points, like fourth grades and elementary school, first grades and middle and high schools, and about 1.3 million children participated in the study.
Now, I am actually really afraid of that because I'm sure you have brought up today's topic because the results are a little bit alarming.
Yeah, adolescents diagnosed as at risk of over-dependence on one or more of the internet and smartphones amounted to about 20% of survey participants. So that means 1 in every 5 students is overly dependent on the internet or smartphones.
I think it's really important to define then what exactly is
Right.
over dependence as opposed to just the right amount of dependence.
Right.
What does it mean?
So the internet slash smartphone over-dependent risk group includes at-risk users who experience severe disabilities in daily life and withdrawal symptoms. And those who need help from specialized agencies.
Okay.
Because they're so addicted and overly dependent on their smartphones.
Like, for example, if you get angry, if someone takes away your smartphone,
Right.
that might
And
be
you
a red
get anxious
flag.
if you don't have your phone.
Right. Your hands are shaking,
Right.
your eyes don't know where to go, things like that.
Yeah, and cautious users who
Yeah.
need attention due to increased usage time and difficulty in self-regulation, those two groups are defined as over-dependence on smartphones.
Okay.
And the number of fourth graders in elementary school, first first grade and middle school and first grade and high school who are excessively dependent on smartphones and the internet continues to increase, exceeding 200,000 in 2020.
So it's an increasing problem.
Right.
Let's actually take a look at numbers by age group because that's also worth discussing. Fourth grade in elementary school, first in middle school, so I suppose in the States that would be sixth grade, first grade in high school, so freshmen, respectively.
So in the fourth grade of elementary school, approximately 71,000 students were at risk of internet and smartphone overdependence, which accounts for 16% of the survey participants. The number of students enrolled in the fourth grade of elementary school increased, and the number of students at risk for dependence also increased by about 5,500 from 2 years ago. Seeing how more than 97% of all the fourth graders own their very own smartphone, I guess this is a result that we get naturally.
Okay, I'm trying to process that. 97% of all fourth graders owning a smartphone.
I mean, I give kudos to the 3% parents who are not getting their kids smartphones because I can feel all the peer pressure that the kids are feeling.
Right. Sometimes it might not be a choice. It could be a cost thing. But anyway, you're right. If that's a deliberate choice, I've got to say. Didn't we once talk about a mother who gave a child incentive if he didn't get a smartphone until maybe later in high school, that she would pay him off, and it worked.
Oh, it did?
Yeah, but it wasn't in Korea. It was somewhere else in the world.
So it's like a marshmallow challenge.
It really is. Right. Tell our listeners about the marshmallow challenge.
The marshmallow challenge is like, I think what the kid psychiatrist tried to examine if the child has like ability to kind of suppress their urges and like take it in. If there's something they need, but if they
wait longer in the study.
In the study. So they give one marshmallow and tell the kids, if you wait until I come back, you're gonna get one more marshmallow, so you get to eat 2 marshmallows.
Incentive,
right? So it's an incentive. Right. So the doctor leaves the room. If the kid waits until she or he comes back, the kid gets one more. But if the kid eats the marshmallow, that's it.
He only gets one. And the result of the study is what? That most of the kids will eat it?
But the resilient kids will wait until the doctor come back so that they can get more marshmallows they like.
So some kids actually thrive on incentives while others don't. So maybe we need to cater these new rules and boundaries. Case by case. That makes it really difficult for teachers and parents. You know that, right?
Yeah.
All right, let's take a look at the specifics of the study for middle and high school students and a little bit of the older age group.
Right. So the number of students in the high-risk group for overdependence on smartphone was the highest at 86,342 in the first year of middle school. Among all the survey subjects, the proportion of middle schoolers at risk group was also the highest, going above 20%.
Okay.
And for the first year of high school, about 19% of the survey subjects were at risk of overdependence.
Another factor that differentiated the result was apparently gender.
Right. Overall, while the risk group for internet and smartphone dependence increased, the increase in boys was remarkable.
Okay.
It was found that there were more boy students in the elementary school and middle school in overdependence risk group. But in high school, interestingly, girls were the majority of the at-risk group.
I feel like this could be an entire question on boxing.
Of course. Like, why? Why suddenly girls gain interest on their smartphones in high school?
Right. But well, maybe we'll say that for another day.
Yeah.
So all these results point to an unsolved debated topic of when parents should get their children their smartphones.
Right. So like that's the ultimate question. Like when should we get our children their smartphone? Because like we have no excuses not to give them.
Not anymore.
Right. Not anymore. According to the Pew Research Center in the U.S., most parents, about 45%, think it's acceptable for kids to have a phone between the ages of 12 and 14. About 28% of parents until ages 15 to 17, and 16% think it's fine to let kids as young as 9 to have their own phones.
Okay.
And other surveys show similar results, so they're on a similar sentiment. But apparently it's way faster in South Korea, as almost every kid in 4th grade has a smartphone.
I always said 97%.
Right. I mean, this means parents need a game plan for the inevitable, the kids saying, but everyone has a phone, argument coming their way. As tempting as it is to turn this into a lesson about individuality and not caving to peer pressure, think about it from each parent's children's perspective, because it's not fun to be the one who is left out of plans formed from texting or who doesn't have the same socialization or media outlets as everyone else.
Because I think we're on guard because we're so afraid of everything that can go wrong with unlimited internet access. But the gross majority of children and students won't utilize it for that. I think that's also a talking point.
Yeah, I mean, we get worried because we know the consequences of overusing smartphones ourselves.
As irresponsible set of adults?
Yes.
All right. Honestly, it does come down to children suffering from FOMO, and it's about creating these authentic relationships, these relatable grounds. If smartphone is a means of communications, and you can't rob your child of that either.
Right.
Most parents would be inclined, again, 97%, right?
Right.
Even adults suffer from it.
Yes.
When you do, in fact, get them a smartphone, it's important to teach them, though, about the responsibilities that comes along with it. Media literacy is a conversation we probably need to have at a much younger age now.
Right, yeah, because the parents cannot evade from the sentence that, but everyone has a phone. So we have to get them a phone, right? But after getting them the phone, it's important to teach them the responsibility. First, you have to let them know why they've earned this privilege of getting a smartphone. Parents need to communicate that they trust their kids to use it responsibly, and vice versa. The kids need to maintain their parents' trust through responsible use. The second one is to limit screen time from day one. Don't wait for a child to have a problem before limiting their phone usage. Without guidance from their parents, they're at significant risk of smartphone addiction, as a recent study in South Korea showed. This is important because smartphone addiction and overdependence can lead to serious problems, including poor sleep, poor academic performance, strained parent and child relationship, and increased anxiety and depression.
All of which would be best advised to avoid. Are there some techniques that parents can then try to utilize, keeping a close watch on their children's screen time? It's so much more tricky if both parents are working.
Right, but so there are 5 different techniques the experts give for the parents to try. The first is to require the phone to be charged overnight.
What does that mean?
Keep the charger in the kitchen so that the children cannot get urge to check their phones
at night
when they go to bed.
Okay.
Or use a lockable charge box if your kid cannot resist the temptation overnight.
Lockable charge.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen adults using this lockable charge box, but it drives them insane. There's a lot of videos adults crashing the box, trying to break the box, but it won't break.
We're really not setting good examples.
Not really.
Okay.
All right. So the second one is create phone-free zones.
Okay.
For example, dining room table. Tell your kids that if you come to the dining room table, it's a phone-free zone.
Yeah.
Don't bring your phone to the table.
I feel like adults can benefit from this. It drives me crazy when I'm at dinner and someone is constantly flipping their phones.
Right.
I get it. We're tied to our work, but it's so irritating.
Yeah.
All right. Also, another point of advice, designate phone-free times. It's kind of like phone-free zones.
Right. So this could be a strict time period or something along the lines of phones must be put away while walking. Parental control apps help you enforce this with quiet mode, so to say.
All right. You know what's really good? Having alternative plans. As opposed to using your phone, this is also fun.
Right.
It's probably a good approach.
Yeah, I think that's the best approach to children. Rather than just taking away the fun part,
give them a distraction.
Give them a distraction, right? Whether you break out board game, jigsaw puzzles, or a variety of puzzle books, paint and canvas, or grandma's favorite cookie recipe, it's your job to set up non-screen activity structures for your kid to distract them from all the smartphone urges.
And the last but not the least, this is probably the hardest one for any of us to adapt.
Right. So lead by example. So kids are super observant and will definitely call you out on your double standard. If they catch you mindlessly scrolling through Facebook or other social media at dinner table. So you have to follow your own rules and demonstrate healthy smartphone habits yourself.
You know what the generation before us used to tell the kids? Don't do what I do, do as I say.
Right.
Does that not apply anymore?
Not really.
There's a reason why there's a saying how kids are a perfect mirror of their parents and the adults around them. So we ought to set a better example.
Yeah.
I think my average screen time last week was 5 hours a day.
Oh, that's pretty short.
No, that doesn't count my laptop time.
Oh, Oh, okay. So only like smartphone screen
on,
time. I mean, you work on your smartphone a lot, so
Sure,
there you go.
Let's go with that.
Yeah.
Thanks, Diane. I'll see you tomorrow.
I'll see you tomorrow.
We have our Science and IT News segment coming up next with a brand new face, Eugenie, joining us in the studio.